Are you now in part of the new campus, or it is? Okay, great. So today, okay. So today, as we discussed, I'll be showcasing you the latest uh, a quick run through about kind of practice or a typology of architectural uh, project that we are right now handling, especially architecture, and to get an idea of the kind of language and kind of diversity of the spaces and the scale and also the kind of variety of functions that we are handling. So, and then I change the presentations mode, and then I'll go a much deeper drive into the 10 projects of recently that we have completed, and that has been exhibited in SEPT and other places and will be published in a book. So that is called placemaking. So these are the kind of two different format I'll be presenting right now. So I'm just now. Are we able to share my screen? Okay. Uh, can you see my screen? Okay. So thank you, San Margo and SP Bhopal and all my students, brothers and sisters. So we founded Abin Studio in 2005 and almost 2006, and this is we are completing 15 years in our practice as Abin Studio, and so that the whole idea of that spaces that a practice that we are right now driving through is more explorative. We are believe that there has to be an enough courage for unfamiliar drive, and so we call it unafraid of unfamiliar work. So I just quickly run through in 10 minutes about the kind of projects right now we are handling. These are the basic projects that are a bit shortlisted. Many absolutely new projects not yet involved because we have a much more larger palette. We're not included in this particular architectural works of small villas and interesting villas inside, but try to capture to get an idea of understanding of what is possibility in terms of our palette of diversity in terms of our practice. This is the gallery house. I'll be detailed explaining you the next presentation. So it's an kind of an project that we intervene as in practice as an architect, how you convince client to his program, keep the program and bring something interesting to the community. So it's called Gallery House, and this is the vicinity in outskirts of Calcutta, which is almost in peri-urban area, and that's I'm talking about this particular space. So this building has been done in collaboration with a ceramic artist, and we made almost 216 pieces of brick and ceramics in terms of the idea of making this particular project. So these are the few pictures of that particular project. I'll explain to you how we have done this particular project. This is the wall house. Again, is recently completed. Also owned the Habitus Building of the Year in Asia Pacific, and this also is a kind of private house which also start intervening in terms how to give it back to the some space of the community, or a road or infrastructure to kind of an save accidents. So I'll detail explain to you to give you an idea of language and the kind of skill that we are handling with. Um, Purely each element we believe on those kind of projects that crafting is one of the major understanding of our practice. So each windows glazings and everything has been done by us in all respect. These are the kind of projects. So House of Sleeping Shadow, which is I think completed 4 years back. So client came to us and tried to create a new building, but they don't allow us to break this old building because of the sentiment. So we actually intervene and create a kind of milestone weaving into the project. So and become a kind of a second house for this client. And within the time, these creepers start growing into that surface and becoming a new life of the whole space. This is the inside spaces. Thakur Dalan again. It's again a community center. Those who know Durga Puja. So this is a space for a club, the space for an idol in occasional time. Idol takes place, but it is a very sacred place for the community, and we actually volunteered our service to create very fascinating kind of space and give it back to them. This is Pallava Club in Lodha, which is a 22,000 square feet of community settlement for a really large housing clusters, and made with steel and concrete, cotton steel and concrete. And also in most of the projects, we try to capture the craftsmanship in terms of detail, windows and other things have been designed in terms of in all respect. So various pictures. Inside also, the whole space is non-air conditioned, and we try to figure it out how these places are becoming more active through that. This is our second project when we started almost practice. It takes, I think, 3 years. We started in 2009 and completed 2011. And this is the IMI Bhubaneswar, which is made in a lot of things in laterite with interesting plaza and concrete. This is the International Management Institute in Calcutta. This is our first project when we started practice in 2006, and it took I think 5 years to complete that project. This is Municipal Council building in Satara. It's in competition design, and we have been shortlisted. In fact, we have been finalists of that particular project. And this building also talks about the context, about the historical understanding, landscape understanding, the geographical contextual understanding of the whole soil. So take from the cue from the strata of the soil, we took very interesting facade elements into that spaces, and also the whole atrium become a non-air conditioned space and open to the public, so everybody can enjoy rather than doing the whole complexity. So this is a kind of a section that talks about the idea of space, and few more other pictures. The Newton schools, so we have seen multiple times. It's we entered as a facade architect for this particular project. Client has already built 2 boxes, and we try to intervene within how FRP boxes and panel. So 13 design we have done, and then we try to capture and rotate each one and make that facade, and which become an identity of that particular spaces. The School of Planning Architecture Bhopal, our competition entry, which is I think we are in top 3 submitted plan into that whole campus. So the main building and campus view inside the spaces where the promenade are part of the library, like a material library. to reduce heat gain. We create a kind of concrete surface, and inside the color. We try to capture in different ways of the context in terms of the low line, up lines, and the kind of terrain of the existing site. This is a new recent project that we have just submitted our plan to the statutory authorities. This is a senior living is like a old age home, but we are talking about like a senior living, assistant living kind of understanding where we try to capture the idea of spaces which has been used mostly kind of in elderly parents and people. So it's a very interesting terracing has been done from the buildings, and it captures inside very interesting courtyard. Bandhan Training Center also, for last 7 years we are working, and it's almost a struggle. Probably it was a nursery earlier, and so we bring the nursery on top of the building right now, and and uh, and we try to merge the whole landscape into the building. This is envision that we have made in 3D rendering, I think 5 years back, and it's gradually coming out in a very nice way that we have thought about it, and it's really interesting to see how the building is taking shape. This is another school that also kind of uh, completely challenge the typical ideology of space in terms of activity and other things. So we try to capture how this school can always be interactive into the indoor space and outdoor spaces. So there's another school that we have recently designed, and it always talks about the idea of space and interactions. There's another school that we have recently are working under construction. So we are doing many interesting schools and universities across. There's a novel theatre in Kolkata, which was almost completed in 2013. And this is the project that we have done with an exposed concrete. Very fast, in 11 months, we completed this project. And this is a new cultural activity center in Newtown, Kolkata. And so some of the interesting projects inside the spaces. So this is a Waity. Recent time, this Waity is completely fooled by a lot of cultural activity and also the idea of how the Waity has been designed as a natural ventilated courtyard, which can be activated through various galleries and canteens, and people can utilize that from inside spaces like a museum. This is the Bandhan Bank, Kolkata, which is right now under construction. And this project has been actually, it's in Bandhan Bank, it's two major verticals. One is microfinance, one is bank limited. So we try to capture both divisions will emerge and create a new pinnacle. So it's in 5.5 lakh square feet of building development, which is right now under construction, full-fledged. This is also has got statutory clearance and going to be, I think it's going to be complete next 2 years, but it will be hit the ground probably May end. And this is a JSW Foundations project. It's a partition museum, which also talks about how idea of space, idea of emotions of there will be three partitions happened in our country, which is related to like Bengal and Bangladesh, and it talks about that emotions and three scratches of our heart, kind of wounds, and various inside spaces, the waterfront arena, which is also I'll be explaining you how this kind of projects have been developed in many different ways. This is the arena that we recently designed, and it's for public, open for local people to develop and run a club. So that's a kind of an this project has many layers. So I'll be explaining you later into my detailed process of presentation. This is also Maharashtra National Law University. We have been finalists again, and this really large project of university. And we actually thought about how this the campuses can be, because you don't have that much of land eventually in future, and how in minimal interventions of land, how the idea of university, idea of college can be really really become difficult. So rather than encroaching the ground, how this vertical Gurukul can emerge as a future educational facility. So in terms of idea of spaces, so this is the three layers of the kind of an educational area, and there is a buffer which is a common facilities, and after that the vertical it will be all uh, housing or hostels. So very interestingly designed. These are the views of various hostel clusters. This is a Bonochai Experience Center in Shantiniketan, and these are purely with a brick to understand how the context of green and lot of trees, how these complexes will be in almost human, because right now this activity is using as a kind of a marketing office, but right now it's becoming an idea of to give it back to the society as in healthcare facilities. So we designed these places and part of the permanent complex of the whole 15-acre development project. And we just use this material like brick and steel and tiles. There's a new school that we are developing in Calcutta around. There's a development project with we have done some galleries and cutouts, and quite interesting idea of simplicity of brick and concrete as an idea of gallery, which is part of the entrance announcement. And we almost convinced the builder to give back the front part to a kind of public area to rejuvenate the whole complex as a cultural epicenter of that area. So we actually convinced client, and he has allowed us to develop multiple layers of various activity of the public activity in front of the housing complex. It's still not completed. Some of the view of clubhouses that we have recently designed. This is pavilion that we have completed 3 years back with steel and uh, mainly steel structure with the concrete and wood. Experience center also a permanent experience center for the complex. So it has the two ground plane. One is a lower ground plane and the secondary ground plane is here. So actually you can go up and enjoy the upper level of this whole project. It is very interesting to see. It's not possible to explain almost all projects through sections, because each project has fundamentally a very different level. So within this courtyard, you can also connect to that bridge, and that bridge connect to this level, and this level can go up to this upper level. So almost all three different level is connected in one. Is you can go through the whole kind of sloping ground and coming to the top. Also from the inside courtyard, you can go up and connect to that area. The courtyard house in Bangalore we completed 5 years back. Pool house also part of the we completed 6 years back. Part of the interventions what we have done in Bashbiri and Alshatabram. And these are some of the pavilion that we have completed. The school that we almost complete right now, and going to be launched next year. So, and this is installations and permanent installations foreign corporate office that we have designed, and an upper level with a steel ball. and then heavily engineering has been put in such a way that it can connect almost in very interestingly create a wave without seeing the joints. And so it's almost every design inch has been done from our studio in the macro level detail. Ball manufactured in China, glass manufactured in Paris, and then we put together and make it this project. We recently completed in interior design of Victoria Memorial, the whole one being, and this has been we got through an competitions and win that competitions, and eventually this interventions has been done by us. It's in competition design in Istanbul. This collaborations with Herzog Dimron. So Herzog Dimron is the architect of this KMOMA, and we are doing the local architect. And recently we completed that particular one first art housing, so which is coming out very very nice. So these are the site images with completely a block of concrete that has been developed for last 7 years. Cantilever House, Purulia, which is also almost complete, and we will be finalizing everything by I think next September, including landscapes and everything. So it is very interesting. The box, which has some kind of flexibility, you have an opening of the shutters with a mosquito, or it can be a conditioned space. So that kind of flexibility can give them an idea to enjoy the whole lawn in the front of the building. On the back side, inside spaces has been taken care of with the staircase. There's a patio house, Praxa Township, which is a very fascinating housing that we have designed. And these are three modules that we worked on. And a long time back, we completed this project. And keeping in mind all common facilities, parkings on lower level, all the housing, because Praxa is a flat front zone, and a lot of cyclone has attacked Praxair in the vicinity. So we designed this whole housing in such a way. And so it is completed long time back. This project was designed in a very predominant area of Calcutta, but not seen yet the daylight. Hoping to see one day we can complete this project. This is the recent and commercial project with a micro office, which every office needs to be vastu friendly, also need to be terrace. So recently designed this project, and it is under construction. Nursing college is which we own project estimate. It's a very interesting, very simple, very low cost, but it talks about the idea of public, and it give you an enormous shades and shadows to public to rejuvenate in those spaces. This is all for public, and it's the whole 100-acre campus. Not a single building has given that opportunity. So only this building has been designed by us, and then this project kind of open up kind of a true meaning of nursing to the people, because in hot summer of 48-degree temperatures, people even going to the other buildings take rest in our building. And so this is the general activity of every day in terms of the area of space. So being in a nursing college, it talks about the public, it talks about the shades and shadows, it talks about inviting and talking about the nursing as giving back to shadow and shades to the larger campus or in Durgapur. It's a the world school that we didn't take the picture. Arishatram Society Hall is also a kind of a deep interventions of the project of what we have actually. This is a completely different design, but we intervene, and this is the first project as a module in West Bengal. How PWD or Panchayat projects can be elevated through an architectural intervention. And for this project, so for 3 years, our team is intervening and trying to convince the local people how within the same budget, same spec, same BOQ, and every project can be more and more beautiful. This is our workshop because our studio has also, in terms of much more understanding of detail crafting, and that crafting is more about idea of space, idea of elements. So we have a workshop wings and a small office in 54 kilometers. So this workshops has an opportunity to experiment of 1:1 scale model, details, furnitures, fabrications, kind of installations, all things are possible here. We just recently completed. This is a recent, very large 10 lakh square feet of housing project, which we are right now in terms of in completion of statutory drawings, and hopefully this project will be completed in 3 years. The school has been designed long time back, Goa, but did not see the day of light yet. The new campus, also a vertical campus, has been designed by us. It's quite challenging, but we need to keep that shell intact without changing government's regulations. This in Bhubaneswar, it talks about the temple city and how this building has been designed as part of the, because Bhubaneswar is a city of temple, and the way that we have designed this whole project. This is again a 54-story building in Calcutta that is under statutory period. So it's a variety of scale that we are keep doing in various projects. Villa, we just recently completed one villa and multiple villas that we are doing, and that is the idea of space that we are talking about, and in terms of I'll shift to my second presentation on how this. Sharma, are you in my screens or I stop sharing? Okay. Okay. So, so what we need to do is, are you saying thank you or seeing myself? Okay. So I've also. I'm not getting the idea how to share again. It's not coming. That's very strange. Yeah, generally it comes, but it's not coming somehow. I don't know. Let me- Yeah. So I'm just surprised to see what is happening. Should I open again the? Yeah, got it. Is it okay now? You can see my screen, right? Okay. Okay. So what we have actually presented you right now is all about the urban scale and variety of uh, uh, building that we are right now designing, and mostly in architecture. Probably we have not included some of the recent completed project, but through the process we need to understand how those things have come out. So I'm going to present you a much more deeper way and the recent 10 projects that we have completed in vicinity or in my hometown. So that is why we given this particular theme of this presentation called Soul in the Cell. So ephemeral to perennial. Why we have given ephemeral to perennial as a theme? Because you know in a practice, because most of the students are right now second year, and you must understand why you have taken architecture as a profession, and what is you going to add values in your practice, and probably that when I was in first year or second year, it is also driving me on the same questions, because what you are going to add values to human life, because you have to accept that nobody understands what value of architecture can do in society, what architects are not while probably respected like doctors, and why our practice or our profession are in a question, because we don't think that our buildings, our spaces, our interventions can really add values. So it is not the practice that you can make a 10 small house of individuals and you'll be happy, because then you may not you may be rich, but you may not be able to get the respect that you deserve. Because I believe that being an architect, you will be a social hero. And for this, you need to be drive your practice in much more meaningful way. And when you much more meaningful way means you need to think about how the state of practice is. State of practice not handling or serving 1.001% of the people in our country. Unless otherwise, you cannot convince as you really cannot get our practice in front from. And that is important for us, and that is actually drives me in terms of the idea of ephemeral to perennial. And why we calling ephemeral? Because I've seen in my childhood that a lot of pandals and pavilions, people go crazy in millions of thousands of people and see those things. And this is the kind of tool that I've kind of seen, that through those tools, if you can make something in a public buildings or public spaces or public installations, probably you can actually able to convince people at large that what architecture can really make something different, what architect's responsibility is, and that is why it's called ephemeral to perennial. So, in terms of idea of those that the puja, the festivals, and all those things has really triggered my ideas of how to make a kind of start with a pavilion to convince people at a large, and then try to convince them slowly. So it started as acupuncture in peri-urban economy, beginning with a cultural history. Why acupuncture? Because I stay not in city. I brought up in on outskirts in Calcutta, and 60-kilometer highway, and it's not an organized sector like in the city fabric. And I feel that within my spaces, if I can actually convince people that my existence, my professions, my ability to calibrate the idea of architecture, that could be nice. And that could be my control. And that is why it's called acupuncture in peri-urban economy. And that's a very interesting part when you are in city and you see the life in different ways. It's all about that where you are from, how you brought it up. So in everyone context is different, but you need to take the challenge. So what we have done, we have a practice in Calcutta, but I am from outside Calcutta. So we know that where is the thin line which need to cross and start bending the idea of people's perception. And 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 there is a many crisis, and you need to handle all crises together: social, cultural, economic, political, environmental, all. And without a crisis, you cannot go even one step further. And you need to understand that you need to resolve on site, and you cannot be very happy just giving a report or creating an ideas. You make sure that whatever the ideas you're making, you have to implement that. And you need to take all correct path, all level of understanding of crisis, then only you probably resolve those things. And typically, our country, apart from a completely rural village, is all like that. And the city is actually post that the city. These are the huge area where there is no sense of understanding architecture, no sense of idea of professions of us. Probably local nations are designing all those buildings. It's huge area. And I can tell you the growth of Indian architecture will be a mostly in between cities, and this is the areas where the most beautiful building is happening. And this is the right thing that we must focus on those areas. Those are the two areas because Pashbir is my hometown and Abhishabdam is vicinity on 3 kilometers. And just to get an idea of context, it's beside the Ganges. That is here the Kolkata municipal area, and this is the talking about the space that I'm here. And it is beside almost the Ganges. And in Bajperia, there's a very interesting auxiliary temple complex, and this is the Ganges. So here is the Adishaptagram, and there is a temple. So it's almost 200 years old. And then Vasudev temple also. An interesting part is the annual Kartik Puja procession. Even it has been many festivals and many things is always going through our locality. So it's a different culture altogether. And also, of course, I'm passionate of football because we run a football academy. And that is why the whole connection started about how and the need of that particular spaces. And why football experience is because this is the site and this is the football ground, which there is a club over here, and my house is here. And for last almost 20 years, I'm serving this club and run football academy. And every time in the rainy time, a lot of cows goes in and it spoil our ground, and a lot of children actually plays and broken their legs. So we need to actually fencing out all those things. And that is the starting point of the idea of interventions and actually trigger 10 projects in this particular vicinity in Basbiri and Adishapatram. And also, same time when you are thinking about the fencing, those whole things, same time there is a kind of festival is uh, is is planned, and a lot of people say that we need to design some kind of pavilion. And I thought that I need a bamboo to fence my ground, and also I have an opportunity to serve thousands of thousand people who comes to see idols and panels and all those things. And that's my opportunity as a lifetime, because what architecture can bring and take it out from the table, what architecture as a profession or architect as a responsibility, I have an opportunity. So what we have done is we have done the bamboo pavilions and and designed this pavilion. Probably you've seen many times. I'm not going to explain much. So it's only 1300 pieces of bamboos. We don't need any complexity, nothing. We just have a 13 colors, and and that changes the idea of spaces, the observations. I always talk about why observations required, because I travel from city to village, and I travel through an highways. I've seen a reflective vinyl in signage how it blinks when my cart light hit that. So it's give me an idea of vinyl, and it changes the whole idea of perception, how and a pavilion can be emerged, and every local people are engaged with putting it just a sticker. There is no complexity, so it's just an idea, and that's a night view. And these are all reflections, no electricity, and that is the idea. And it and daytime it emerges, and post pavilion, and all bamboo has been used as a fencing, and people have start practicing. So that is a kind of an almost shocking, and people feel the unorthodox, thousand people, and remember they have not seen pandal or pavilion like this. And it has been went to MoMA, published in many newspapers. So these also are kind of a triggering effect to the government, to the influencer, to the community and other people. So the idea, what we thought, is was working. We thought that when I convince thousand people, in between thousand people there'll be a few influencers, few political people, few local government, and in that way we try to bridge those things, and that is called wave of reciprocal approbation. And it's enforced by media, enforced by various awards that this pavilion has got. And then studios start actually collaborating with multiple projects with them, and so much of effort that will be coming. So one pavilion actually emerged a thousand possibilities. Apart from Madhishaptagram and Bajberia, which is a model, has been showcased today. Research for SEPT University. A lot of students across India come to see these two places, all the projects. It's going to be launched a separate book for that, and it merges a kind of idea of how government been spending money to and creating in small spaces or community or a kind of a market. They consult us, and that is the interesting part of the practice, that you are able to convince them, not as a theory, not as a report, to making a project on site which is livable, which is actually soul has been established and people are enjoying it. So through the times, the project impact, the more we go in the time, the more is that impact. So from 2012, what we have started is it's just going through times, it's impacting more and more people, and we are keep adding many projects, and many of the cases are people are saying that it should intervene in that way, apart from in our locality. So this has a very interesting waves that captures design considerations, which the craft collaborations, construction mechanisms, or complexity, and contextual explorations, community involvement in terms of people who will be enjoying in terms of local initiative, occupational enhancement, a lot of job creation that this project has created, social impact, people showing those projects and getting a fund. Again, external influences, Petro, they are saying who has actually influenced our projects. They are saying it will be fantastic. So they are also a kind of super enthusiast to help more projects. Government interventions. Government is happy to see, and interesting. The political people are actually taking pictures, selfies with the building, and then said, "This is our political vendetta. If we come down, if we come to the power, we'll give more this kind of things." Then we are smiling. We are smiling because everybody tried to capture those idea of buildings and spaces and owning them. So it's the winning. It's just a joy of architecture, and in the way the architecture wins. And that is the whole idea of spaces that we calling making of places, and a productive coalition between the practice and community. So we mapped the whole places and how the project has really come out. The pool house. So pool house also in kind of in private space, which has a very, very interesting interventions with an program of a gene spa and intervention that deck from the kitchens and the gazebo over there. It's all celebrate about the superbly craftsmanship and local people, how they have done it. This was the building that has been built on unbuilt mass. And there will be three clear interventions has happened. One is connecting the pool, one is the kitchen deck, one is the gazebo, one is the main outhouse. So in that way, we have actually completed this project. That's the gazebo. All details and everything has been done nicely. So idea is privacy and porosity, which also comes from typically a building that you have been seen in shutters in Calcutta. So we also have a kind of opportunity to have a kind of ventilation, porosity. Also, you can have a privacy when you actually close that, but the ventilation is still going. So similar kind of thing. From the upper level, the client can see all the people. From the lower level, nobody can see. The way it can be opened, also the corner and the shutters also designed in such a way. So in that way, we have actually developed this whole project, and which is right now completed a long time back, and the gazebo. And more by day, this building become more and more beautiful with the tree grown. And this is, I think, just post lockdown, last June, July, I visited that spaces and took this picture. It's amazing to see how the light filters inside the shutter walks, shadows, and that impacted to calibrate the idea of how you create job creations. Also, the philosophical point of view of our studio to extend on workshops, and that is why we have done that. And that's the workshops that we have created, and the ADS getting larger projects, and the workshops become and more bigger, and that is why the workshops has now a larger campus. And I've shown you this project. So it is a very interesting in a workshop. It can be one lecture, because how the ventilation and evaporative cooling works in terms of the idea of spaces. This is a 3D view, and you have seen the exactly the view that we have thought about. It has come out. These are all completely net mesh and allow air to go inside and actually go outside. It's beautiful right now, and it is almost complete. Almost complete. The pavilion of canopy is also part of the pavilion of celebrations of local tribal people who are to celebrate, to create in the forest. So we try to create how the canopy can be worked. So what we have done is we have a different layer of fabric, and we have one bit of it some repeat, and within that is simple bamboo and few MS strings, and we just put the layers in various levels and cut those layers in almost in kind of a parametric way that it creates some kind of an canopies from bottom, and each fabric can be cut like this, and it really filters light from the top and then daytime and nighttime, a small model that we have created. It's pretty simple, and our own people has done this pavilion. And when light filters from the top in the night time, it's really mesmerized the whole space. And it's really kind of take forward the further up after the pavilion, how spaces can be completely emerged and a different kind of experience. And so the similar kind of installations have been done in except University Library when we have presented our all projects recently with library building designed by Raul Mehrotra. The House of Sleeping Shadow also as kind of metal jacket, we call it. So this was an existing building, and client doesn't want to break that, and he has an emotional attachment, but he wanted a new look of that building. So we stitched the steel structure around it, and we created the extra spaces as a deck and rooms and everything. So this is the building, and then we've done the whole metal jacket on top of it, and how the structure and everything has been done. Its canopy, everything has been put, and the structural detail and foliage actually has taken over the period of time, and right now the building is completely green, and that's joy. So that is we want that if within the time this whole louvers will be filled up with a lot of trees and greens. Again, in back IPS with a simple small gazebo space, which is side spaces where we given because it has an emerged very interesting shadow happens throughout the year. Wall house also a kind of interventions which is talks about the idea of space because the existing building when it was done it was boundary wall like this, and what happened, this is a very dense community area and a lot of people come through bike and cycle, and there is a very accident prone zone. So we intervene this project, and what we have convinced client that we cannot put a boundary wall on that corner, but I'll give you an a privacy. I'll give you privacy within the buildings, but you need to give back to that people. So the convincing of to the client to give back to that area to the people takes 6 months time, but he has been convinced and we made this project. And that is only one condition from us to intervene for a private house to make sure that we can make these things. So he wanted this, we wanted this. And that is why this building has been pushed back. And that is why there is no accident happen. So from here you can see this somebody is coming over there. And that is the beauty of these spaces. Though we've given a solid kind of wall which is opening and it kind of interact from inside to outside, outside to inside, but will be full of privacy. That's the beauty of these spaces. And so it has an interesting pool and a bio pool. It has multiple courtyard and in various levels. Entrance, all glazings and everything has been. Nothing has been bought. Everything were in workshop with an steel enforced wooden shutters. Even a mini scale details has been given. Inside spaces, so you have flexibility of space. You open up for ventilations if you need to. Air conditions area, so you just shut it down and just close that to hit the privacy. You don't need a curtain. You don't need maybe just a fan. That's all. So we have a tight space. How the entrance has been really kind of accentuate that gym and a lounge area. And you can see the steel reinforced area with the wood section that has been taken care of. Waterfront clubhouse that I've explained, it is a kind of a space that we have got very, very double size. But this is a very interesting thing because the government has only given 2 lakhs rupees because government has given many clubs 2 lakhs rupees, and this club approached to us to create a kind of a pavilion. So we thought that not only 2 lakhs we can't do anything. So We actually initiated many local people, influencers, and local make and build. So almost in fund generation to execution to maintenance, we are doing it. And today this building has changed the whole village. Not only this building fetching the most attention, so all the political people try to own that building, that they have actually done it, and that is why I said that we are smiling. And here is a success of architecture, because it's so powerful today in that vicinity that everybody want to make this project has been initiated by them. But the government has only done 2 lakhs. Rest everything has been managed by ADS and give it back to them. So we not only developed this, we developed the road, we developed the ghat and everything. And right now, with showing this, they are getting a lot of funds to manicure their gardens, their clubhouses, their equipment, their gymnasiums, everything. So this whole village has been catered by here. It is a dark place, but it suddenly completely changed in different ways. So in terms of grand recipients, in the public fundraising, ADS vendors, ADS associates, and urban living room, it's just the time that the influence and is just a growing up in terms of that particular project. It's really emerging as a part of the community's place. It's no longer today in a club arena. So all people are taking in these particular spaces, and then football training camp is happening. There'll be kind of place that almost almost everybody spend times over there, and it's beautiful in all respect that when you see that there'll be kind of vibrations of the project is happening, you feel blessed. And interestingly, this project has been inherited by us, not by any political leaders, because the village also give us the same kind of respect that we try to give them making these projects. And that's the biggest thing that you can expect from doing architectural practice. So Ghat also kind of developed by us, sitting arrangement, all those things. Typically sections, it's just very simple, and inauguration times and how the community is inauguration day. And if you see closely, 15th August 2019, Abin Studio written, and that is the best ever gift or award that a studio can get. Again, that's a hall that I've created, and in almost and most complicated way, that a 2.8 crore project. Every vendor is almost living, and the government has given. There is a very ugly looking buildings has been sanctioned, but we, without changing budget, without changing BOQ, without changing how the studio has been involved in multiple negotiations with all sector of agency, has created this project finally. And this was a building sanctioned, and they're supposed to do that, and we convinced them not to do that without changing anything, and change to that. And that's the joy. And I've shown you that earlier presentations. It was not updated here, but that is a beautiful part of that. Thakurdan also is a kind of similar kind of interventions. The studio has intervened in the local idle spaces. Also, the sentiment before and after has really gone, because a lot of old people are very happy with the older structures, but the many more the time is going, a lot of people are engaging with those kind of activity. And it's as I said, a crisis. The crisis is a lot of social, a lot of political, a lot of, to understand that the social fabric, how they want to evolve with the new things. And it's the memory of divinity almost. It's idea of temple that we have created. And it's simply extractions from a block and removing one single column from the corner, because it's just disturbing in terms of the viewing from the idol from the outside. And this is a precast concrete which has been done in workshops and created those things. And a simple structure with a precast concrete, we have done this and make this building perfect. So you can see, so it starts why he said that soul in the shell is that the building starts taking shells the early morning, probably in the summertime. He's sleeping here because of the cool area, because probably he doesn't have a very small rooms. And the old lady is putting water in front. It's just in respecting the spirituality of this whole space. The priest and evening arti, morning time, and when it was Durga temple, Durga idol is there, and that was the earlier building, and there is a new building. So gallery house, as I so it's almost in history culture, as I said. The Bashur temple is a very finest terracotta temple in locality. So when we actually have an opportunity to design this building, we thought that we must give a kind of respect the cultural history of that particular project, and that is the kind of it was made for a garage and and a dormitory, but we convinced client because it must require more and more public space in our locality, and the client and myself has grown together, and and we actually a studio and the client has actually given back mutually to the community as part of the whole process. So why this is a steps, because there'll be a lot of festivals and rally goes there. So we try to create a public forum sitting over there. And interestingly, when we are in under construction, in the time of the festivality, already people are taking steps over there, and this is the procession is going on, and that is the beauty of this project. So if you really can think beyond the building and think about the cultural context, landscape understanding, political understanding, then probably you can attack the much better public buildings in all respect. Various details that almost in 1:1 scale details that we have created for each and every element, because 216 pieces of ceramic and brick has been manufactured on site to make this particular project. It takes 4 years almost to complete that project. And the Partha Dasgupta, is an artist collaborators over here, as part of that thing. And this is the thing in terms of the idea of the spaces, and all those ceramics, various pieces have been made for this project and utilized over here. The the artist who has worked rigorously for years on the site to make those projects perfect. We have not used a single piece of woods. Even the light and everything is made in ceramics. These are the brick we cut and to receive the concrete. And the process that when you're making all those things, all service lines and everything has been taken care. So when you completed that project, and so these are the ventilation shafts. So we designed a brick separately, the larger size, so the air can go through. So in separate divisions, we made the model and how the brick patterns and everything, and it's beautiful actually. The window is going to the roof purely for public. Here is the context. and the night view. So I end with my presentations here uh, after seeing this picture, because this picture talks about how this building has been evolved and a part of this whole vicinity of this Bashpi and Shaptagram, and we completed almost a gift to the people. And there's so much of energy to utilize this building. We can't leave, and that's the joy of architecture. Thank you. I think I think one thing is common, that we try to understand the context, and also we try to explore each project in different way. And we always feel that, okay, this is project is similar like this, let's try on this. And we invariably understand that every project is a different ball game, and we never ever achieved uh, referring to our old project is end of the day is coming to the new projects altogether. And the site context, client has given a kind of brief, and we try to challenge it. So we see every project is a different kind of challenge, and try to explore what this particular project being more meaningful, that we have not done before. So I think one is important for us is the context, availability of the material, ease of making things, and if there is a complexity that client is unable to produce, we make sure that we resolve those things, but not to leave to the client and just wait that, okay, my job is over to give the drawings. Now he will do that or not. We don't leave that process ever. If we think something, we make sure that in all possible and probable options that we explore, it doesn't matter how much time it's gone through that exploration, we make sure that it has to be resolved. And in that way, through resolving, through value engineering, through cost reduction, new avenue opens up. So it's becoming a new project altogether. Even sometimes, honestly, some projects we say, okay, this project fees is really less. Let's do not involve much on this. And client is very happy, but we are not happy. Somehow we feel that, no, it's not giving that kind of passion. So we should not, if we do something, we should not waste our lifetime. So We must explore something. So eventually, end of the all projects, we landing up with a new exploration. And today, if we don't get and really kind of excited of any projects, we are not taking any projects because it has to be some kind of challenge to give it to us.
Yeah, yes. Good morning, sir. It was a nice, very wonderful session. Good to hear from you. I don't have any questions because I had this question of how the projects were kind of contextualized, but towards the end, while you were discussing in detail how, the meaning of architecture was there are a lot of deeper meanings to which the built form was done. So, kind of how it was related to the community and the more of public nature that was given, a lot of spaces which got incorporated. So that was really nice in that ways, and also a lot of negotiations. I was just wondering how in practice how we can kind of come up with a lot of negotiations in that ways to come up with a project which is more of kind of public in nature. So that was it's a wonderful presentation. As students, they also understand the other part of what they learn from theory from the studios and how it's actually in practice. So in that ways, it was wonderful to hear from you. And thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. So, let me tell you, because in our studio, we resolve the structure ourselves. The moment we resolve our structure, then we give it to structural engineer. For us, structural engineer is just doing the specialty, but without a structure, architecture cannot be thought about it. So for us, structure has to be resolved from our end first, and we have a basic idea of understanding not only the concrete, also steel. So probably the structural engineer can calculate the reinforcement and other things, but how this structure can be resolved in different levels. So we don't see those challenges technically, but we are get really challenges, sometimes failure because of the government bylaws or government instructions. Typically, it's like a presidency university. Presidency University, larger campus, has been no point of making a 14-story two buildings. Absolutely not necessary. But government said that no, you have to have this footprint used. You have to have blue and white used. So we fought almost, and you can't change and footprint all those things, and you have to work on this line. So we try to actually fought and absolutely ministry level, but then we lost. and we made these buildings. We are not happy. We are not, but it's a loss of opportunity for the government, loss of opportunity for us, because 3 years when you put his time and effort on such kind of projects, you are not happy or kind of excited enough to show, then it's loss for everyone. We got a challenge of this kind of things, sometimes private clients, sometimes government clients. But what Ms. Rekha has told, that negotiations, probably 12, almost in 11 years, my all Sundays has gone to just negotiate with the public, with a government or a convince and a chairman, and then convincing the political people and make sure everyone on same page. It's huge effort. Actually, fascinating. Typically, Adishaptam Club is a fascinating experience. Like almost everybody, because we don't give the right thing to the public, and we expect that public is looking forward something jazzy, colorful things. It's not that. We don't, as an architect, we don't give them the right things. They are super happy with the Adishaptam Club. Super happy. And in public at a large, as a villagers, they are so happy. You can't imagine, this is like an epicenter of a cultural activity of that space. But I'm telling you that Thakur Dalan, okay? Thakur Dalan challenges, like I stay there. My mother doesn't like that building. She said to me, why you have done this? Because took, I give the 2 feet extra to the road, to a green buffer. And it's become 2 feet small. Now she told me, now 50 people cannot go inside. Why you have done this? But I didn't give the answer. With the time, she also convinced. So, if you give them a nice things and people thinking that the jali, what is jali, the concrete, why you have given all those concrete jali, it could be something nice painting. It is a normal phenomena. Then people seeing that when there is a kind of oven is happening and the smoke is going out, earlier it is not going out, it is tough. People start thinking that the meaning of those elements that we have created is acting. It doesn't require paint. It is a lot of always ventilated. So these are the things take some time. And you need to, through the experience, through the events, people start understanding why you have done it. And if it's a really thoughtful process, I think public at large will like it absolutely. I think one is courage. The more they're courageous, I think they should be courageous enough to take the any unfamiliar exploration. The moment that threshold you're talking about, it's like, should I do it or not? I think that threshold has to be broken. Number one, though they are second year, they have a much more gone to third year, fourth year, fifth year, and uh, the important part I always believe in the state of practice. They should know also is not about the ideas or lines. In a practice, being an architect, uh, the 70% effort gone to the engineering and the negotiations and making these things happen. That's most painful area. And when they actually start thinking on a design concept, because the second year is the right things where they should actually absolutely gone mad in terms of ideas and other things. And uh, I think this is the time. I think for fourth year, they should start thinking how to make it possibly. But I always request them to be more courageous in terms of the thinking attitude. The moment they will be more courageous thinking attitude, they'll be and of course you are the guiding force to take the referral point of history, the process, the ideas. Uh, Sharmarga, because I'm at that point of time, we just try to avoid bunk a lot of theory classes. And we know today we are reading theories because we lost that time, because that's a big connect. And we lost a most important part of our curriculum, because those theories are so powerful and they help us actually drive and contemporize those ideas in through layers with the current political, social, cultural layers and create something interesting. They should actually go through theories and also take the reference from those theories as you are guiding them. Also be more courageous. For the time being, for the second year, probably if the fourth year I'll give more extra, but it'll be little bit of heavy in the right time. Okay. So, no, that's fine. Yeah. I think that is one, and I in all lectures I said that making the process making is the more challenging in practicing in India. And many people ask me that sitting in Kolkata, how you make those buildings. People don't see the pain that we probably run through in 70% in our each project, which probably 100 times going to a site, make sure if there is a challenge, it's not available to resolve on site or give the alternative solution. Unless otherwise it is happening exactly as per our design, we don't leave the site at all. We make sure that it has to be done. Probably in picture it looks beautiful, but people don't see the pain. In practicing in India, preferably in global south, it's not a Europe and America that you design something, you concentrate 70%, you don't have to worry because the contractor is super specialist. They will come, they have all equipments, technology and everything, whatever you think they can develop. Here is completely different. Here people are sitting to screw your architecture or design any point of time, even a client. They won't compromise in all respect if there is a small loophole. So you not only make sure your drawing is so perfect, you have to make sure super more dedicated to make sure your building is happening at your rate. You have to respond to the cost effectiveness. You have to respond to the availability of technology. What could be the next solution? You cannot say that this technology is available, that is why I cannot do that. you need to resolve, you need to find out a material, you need to really make those materials probably to resolve those things. And that is why you can come to that particular point. So we spend a lot of time on site, a lot of time on site to make one project. No, because as a nature, I'm a bit unorthodox in all respect. So when you have started, we don't have a project. So I used to work with a Tata Steel to run a steel library. What is a steel library? So basically, my job is to librarian and research on steel projects and give the lecture to steel. To survive my studio, I have to do that. But interestingly, that helps me getting a knowledge of materiality at a vast level. So probably a structural engineer doesn't know about the steel. I know much better than that. And probably if you see that steel structure that we have created and kind of weaved, that has been actually done all in studio because we are super expert on all those things. And that helps me because that helps me that steel junctions and other things help me all getting those details sorted out, even in cage house. So idea is the of practice. Initially, what happened is getting a right project. So I'm fortunate that I got a right project. But at the same time, what happened is practice is a vicious circle. So one is you need to, if you start getting larger projects, is a larger risk. It means larger projects means larger to compromise sometimes. And for larger projects, you need to take in more manpower. But you need to balance both. You have to make sure that just to survive, if you start taking projects, you lose that pace. The philosophical background of your practice diluted. Now, if you, this is a game. Now you need to decide that you want to play as a forward position, a side back position, and a goalkeeper. If you know what is your position, then stick to it and start practice. And then this kind of struggle goes on up in any kind of practice, even we gone through. And even sometimes myself and Jui discussed that what will happen, this project will stop, this project will, but we never ever thought about losing the focus point that whatever we do, it must be meaningful. We can't do anything without a meaningful. And that is why it's driving us. Thank you. Yeah. Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.